And when I say no money, I don't mean you're down to your last few hundred. I mean, there's nothing left. You haven't got an extra penny in the account. Growing up, life was really difficult. There wasn't much money available and there was a lot of stress and worry and anxiety. And one of the things that happened to us was that we lost our home and we had to live in temporary accommodation, including a hotel. I grew up with my mum, my dad and my two younger siblings, and we lived together in a family home until I think I was around 11 or 12. So during those years that we lived in that house, money was always really tight, and my dad had a job but it was quite far away, and what he brought in didn't always cover everything that we needed to. And then we hit the recession and interest rates went up and things got even harder. I have really strong memories of being at petrol stations with my dad, and we'd have a very specific amount of money that we'd have to be able to fill up the tank, and it would be quite stressful for my dad because if we went over by even a penny, we didn't have it. So when I go to petrol stations now, and I see the buttons that they have on the machine, so you can set a specific amount to pay up to, I feel relieved that they have those buttons, because that obviously takes away a lot of stress and anxiety for families that can't go over. But it also triggers me a little bit because it takes me back to that moment with my dad. Something so simple as filling up your car being so stressful and worrisome. So Christmas was lovely. It was a really family time. My family have lovely traditions that we carry on to this day. And Christmas Day itself, I have lots of really happy memories. It was more the post-Christmas. So after Christmas, especially even from Boxing Day, I could just feel the stress and the anxiety rising as the bills would start to come in, and had a constant worry of receiving a present my parents couldn't afford. And I would ask them to not bring me a present. If they'd say, what do you want to ask Santa for? I would say something really cheap or nothing at all, because I just didn't want the stress and the worry that would come after Christmas. As stressful and as worrying as times were as a child, my parents did their very best for us. They loved us very much. We were definitely a family. It just, the money worries are tough. At some point during that period of time, we ended up losing the house because they couldn't afford to keep up with the repayments, because interest rates went out of control back then. And when you don't have any buffer each month, when things go up in price, you can't find that money, right? So eventually we lost our family home. What I do remember is very high levels of stress and anxiety and upset at the time, which was not great to experience as a child. But more than that, our things, we didn't have them anymore. So you accumulate stuff, right? Especially as a kid, you have toys and clothes and all that sort of stuff. And I don't have that. I've got one photo album, but I don't have those things that you want to pass on to your kids from your childhood. We lost that. We were taken to temporary accommodation, which in our case was a hotel, and we shared a hotel room as a family of four for, I think, I was quite young, but I think it was around 9 months we were in that hotel. It's quite confusing to have lived somewhere your whole life and then your home isn't your home anymore. It's worrying, it's stressful, but as a child you don't really fully comprehend everything, but you can tell that your parents are really worried and you can feel that anxiety and stress. I would probably say to them, I'm sorry that they had to go through that. And yeah, just thank you really for what they did do. My view is that anyone that says money isn't everything are probably the people that have never been in a situation where they've got no money at all. And when I say no money, I don't mean you're down to your last few hundred, I mean, there's nothing left. The stress that you feel, the worry where you're going to get that money from, it's hard, it's relentless, it makes you feel poorly, right? And that is a situation that a lot of people find themselves in. As I got a little bit older, I had the sense to go and get a job as early as I could. So as soon as I could have a paper round, I think I had 2 or 3. But I knew that my education was my way out. So I would, as well as working, I would put a lot of time into my studies. And I did well at school. However, when you're a child that's going through homelessness, temporary accommodation, living in one room with the rest of your family, being able to study isn't the easiest. I would, on occasions, take myself away into the bathroom, which was the only extra room that we had, just for a little bit of quiet so I could study. I remember leaning on the toilet with the lid down as a table and doing I think it was geography homework that I remember the most. So when I look at my children, I want them to be young and I want them to not have worry. So yes, I'm trying to instill financial awareness in them, but I don't want them to be so aware that they worry that we can't pay the rent or anything. I think I want my kids to be kids, and I didn't get that. If you told me as a child about my life today, I'd probably either laugh in your face or think you're joking. It is quite far removed from the situation I was in. Sorry. Shelter as a charity is amazing, it's fantastic, and the work it does is so needed, sadly, but it's really needed more than ever. So I think that's the key to this, knowing you're not alone, knowing that there's help out there and getting that help quickly. There's still many more people that need help and that number just keeps rising. So working together and having shelter initiatives funded by HSBC UK is so important. Today we talk a lot about financial resilience and financial vulnerability, and those two things really resonate with me. Putting a focus on skills that support financial literacy is incredibly important to help people to avoid or reduce the impact of financial distress. Knowing that there are still people in the situation that I was in, there's still children going through that and worse than what I went through, makes me really passionate in helping others, even if it's raising awareness, even if it's putting my story out there, which is a scary thing to do, right? But I feel like it's the right thing to do, because if it helps even one person or one family get help, then we'll have achieved our goal. I'd probably say to anyone watching this that is going through something similar, even if it's more extreme or less extreme than what I've talked about, that what you're going through today doesn't have to be your future. It can change, and there is help out there. And there are people that genuinely want to help you. There are organisations that genuinely want to help you. Regardless of the circumstances that have led you to this point, don't feel ashamed, don't feel embarrassed, because someone else will be going through exactly the same thing. And that's why these charities and these groups and all the work that's happening is happening. So if I had the ability to go back in time and to spend some time with my younger self, knowing what I know today, I would say, keep going. Keep being strong, keep focusing on your education, and keep helping others and asking others for help, because it will get better and things will turn out okay.